Welcome to Paranormal Almanac with your host, Kurt Sandvik.
Hey, howdy, hi. That's right, I'm your host, Kurt Sandvik, and on this edition of Paranormal Almanac, let's talk. Hold on, it's still a little too loud, a little bit more reverb. There we go. Let's talk about haunted islands. That's right, only the hauntedest islands ever will be talked about on this episode. And it's a part one, spoiler. I'll tell you more about that later. But first, as always, we have shout-outs. That's right, shout-outs going out to the patrons. Head on over to patreon.com for all your patron needs, including a contest winner that I'm about to tell you in just a moment. Shout-outs going out to Mr. J, George, Andrew, Deb, Corey, GC, Yowie ate my homework, Tracy, Newt, Brandon, that's Newt MacGyver, getting MacGyver on it, Avril, Loch Ness, not a monster. Stacy, Leviathan, the Wicked One, Ill said, Brian, Heather G's, Jeffrey B. Oof. Heather G's, Jeffrey B. There we go. Johnny the Pommy. Hey, howdy, hi. Been a while. JT, hold on a second. JT, the winner of the contest? Oh, okay. Stop with the, yeah, there we go. Oh, the winner of the contest. Everybody congratulate JT. You won a free shirt of your choice. So what you're going to have to do, JT, same way you gave me the answers to the contest on Patreon, all you have to do is now message me with the style, the color, and the size, and obviously your address, and you got yourself a free Paranormal Almanac shirt. That's right. It was that easy. Again, I'll tell you more about that in just a second. Let's continue on with the shout-outs. Doogie Whore, Mike G, Tracy B, Jeff, Richard, Alec, Karen, Duran, Lori, Rebecca, Ann, Stephen, Cher, hey, howdy, hi, Jane Ann, Jennifer, Heather G, your friendly neighborhood skinwalker, Zuzus, what's it, Nico, Sharon the Mouse, hey, howdy, hi, Andrew, Mike and Mark and Tina, Tortuga, JB, Andy, Tracy, Virginia Mailman, Tony the Magician, Jason, Vicky, Crow, Lobita Works, Isabel, Jen, Amber, Tracy B, Kelly Joe, Kick-Ass Magic Robot Webcomic, Sandy, Paige, Cow, Scott, Andrea, Melody, Vanessa, Becca, Jake, Charlotte and the Beasties, If I Was the Devil, Elizabeth, Sherry, Artmouth and Tim, Kenneth, Alexandra, George, Zozo the Demon, Hayden, Cindy, Ashley, Robin, Will, Lauren, Russell, Isabel, Audra, Dorian, Cindy, Paula, Jerry, Jeff, Joe, Lawrence, Melissa, the Lawrence Strawn, hey, howdy, hi, Veronica, Autumn, Carolyn, Nanashi, Todd, Jamie, and Elijah Hendrickson, Dan, Laura Pitts, and the one and the only Gamer Fan. With two special shout-outs going to Joe Teague and to my boy Stitch. All right, for those that don't know, I released a song called Childhood Remixed. It was fun. I was bored the other day, last Sunday or something, and I was like, well, I got this beat that I created. I'd like to do just beats from something, from when I was a kid. So I created a song called Childhood Remixed, and in it had clips or sound bites, whatever you want to call it, from a bunch of movies from when I was a kid. Then on the Patreon, I said, okay, the person who guesses the most, and thank you to everybody that entered, by the way. Thank you so much to everybody that entered. Todd, man, he was on it. He was nailing it. Thank you to everybody that entered. But the final winner of it was JT. He guessed the most. Still, no one guessed them all. It was crazy. No one guessed them all. But here it is. If you want to listen to this or write it down or however, I'll put it on the Facebook fan page as well. But if you go and listen to Childhood Remixed, you're going to hear Close Encounters of the Third Kind, then E.T., then Close Encounters of the Third Kind again, then Aliens, then Ghostbusters, then E.T., then X-Files, then In Search of with Bigfoot, then In Search of with UFOs, E.T. yet again, then Art Bell, Aliens, Ancient Aliens, T2, Neverending Story, In Search of, Dark Crystal, Goonies, Blade Runner, Willy Wonka, War Games, Last Starfighter, Willy Wonka, Ghostbusters, Black Hole, Tron, Battlestar Galactica, Flight of the Navigator, Muppet Movie, and that's the old Battlestar Galactica, by the way. Flight of the Navigator, Muppet Movie, Explorers, Empire Strikes Back, Flash Gordon, RoboCop, 2001, Jaws, Back to the Future, 2001 again, Tron, Back to the Future, Poltergeist, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Die Hard, Ghostbusters, and finally Tron. That is your main answer, your ultimate answer to the childhood remix song. So hopefully you guys heard it. Hopefully you guys liked it. Hopefully you caught a couple of those. I know some of you guys did because, again, the contest entries were pretty darn impressive. But yeah, so it pays to be a Patreon is what I'm saying. You get longer episodes, you get bonus episodes, and you get contests like that. All right, let's get right in to paranormal news because I got a lot of stuff to do today, unfortunately, but I want to get this episode out today.
Ghosts and demons that haunt the night. Strange objects fly through the sky. Shadow people are spending the night again. Black-eyed children knock on my door. A portal to hell opens in my room. Time travel man says the world is changing soon. Don't fucking shoot Bigfoot.
Thank you, Buzz, so much for that one. Before I get into paranormal news, let me just say I'm saving all of the Age of Disclosure movie stories until it gets released. I could do an entire episode, just paranormal news episode about Age of Disclosure. It's premiered at South by Southwest. Everybody's talking about it. It seems to be the biggest piece of disclosure that has happened to this date. But until it gets released and I watch it, I'll probably do like a mini episode about it. I'm going to hold off on everything Age of Disclosure. You can look it up yourself if you want to spoil it, but I really want to see this movie without spoiling every soundbite and every piece of the movie. So I'm going to hold off on that. So what else is going on in paranormal news? And I also wanted to keep this paranormal news really short as well, because again, unfortunately, I've got a lot of things to do today. I'm burning through the day, but I wanted to make sure I got this episode out this weekend because my weeks are insanely packed. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however, I'm sure you already know, I'm being forced to move out of my place, so I'm selling off just absolute tons of toys and merch and all this other fun stuff that I've accumulated over the years. So I've been doing that pretty much nonstop, work pretty much nonstop, but I wanted to make sure I got this episode out because we're getting close to 300 and I want to keep the momentum going. Plus I got to go look for a place. That's what I'm doing today. As soon as I get done with this, there's 4 places I have to go look at. Fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. But back to paranormal news. The first story in paranormal news, a UFO insider goes on the record. That's right, it's been nearly 50 years since Travis Walton vanished in the forest in Arizona, then reappeared with an incredible story. If you don't know the Travis Walton story, I did an episode about it, but they talked to Travis Walton. I'm not going to play the full 25 minutes, but I do want to play just a brief intro of them talking to Travis Walton.
Still had some residual pain and, the grogginess, but there was a light above me. I was lying on the cold pavement, and I looked to see where the light was coming from. And just as I looked in that direction, it went off. So I don't know whether they had a light shining on me that was turned off or the door closed or something. But It was just for a brief instant that I saw it there hovering, and then it shot straight up into the sky, silently this time.
Travis, would you
the craft in the woods was making some very bizarre sound.
Yeah, I've read that account, that it was a humming and then high pitched, kind of on both ends of the spectrum, high and low, like a rumble. How large was this craft?
Not big, 20, 25 feet in diameter, maybe bigger. It's nothing to judge by.
And there were two beings on there that had alien form, but there was another that was more human, as you describe it.
Yeah, I think that perhaps my lack of cooperation, they got the idea to have something look more human looking to, gain my confidence, because I wasn't about to cooperate with these, what I took to be monsters. And so I did cooperate with the human looking being and others like him. Now, I don't know whether they somehow are in association with beings that look human, or were able to simulate that appearance, or even had some relationship with some Earth-based agency. But I was only too eager to go along with them.
Travis, it's been 50 years. Whatever happened to you that you think happened to you, that you claim happened to you.
I don't like that.
Have you suffered any ill health effects in those intervening years?
Well, I was certainly very anxious about that possibility, but it turned out to be quite the opposite. For, like 20 years, I didn't call in sick to work a single time. And I was.
All right, I'm gonna pause it there. I don't like it when someone brings somebody on a show to tell their story and then insinuates that they're bullshitting, and they've been bullshitting for 50 years. I thought that was pretty crappy. But the reason I wanted to play this one, and like I said, I'm not going to play the full thing. It's 20 minutes. I'll throw it up on the Facebook fan page. It's a 20-minute interview. It's basically just Travis retelling his story in his own words, but I wanted to play a little bit of it because, A, it's awesome to see Travis Walton out there and talking and still talking about it, and B, he's got to have some kind of vindication with all of the UFO stories in the news for the past 5-6 years, when it seems like finally everybody's admitting that, yes, UFOs are real. He is finally vindicated after 50 years. But even after all of this, he goes on to Fox 10 News in Phoenix, and this guy insinuates that he's still bullshitting. What you believe happened to you, what you say happened to you. No, it's what happened to him. So that stigma still hasn't gone away. And until that stigma goes away, not everybody's going to be coming forward with incredible UFO, either abduction stories or just eyewitness stories. And it kind of bummed me out. But I wanted to put that one on there. Let's keep on moving on. Up next in paranormal news, British ufologist calls on President Trump to release the JFK and secret UFO files. Mark Christopher Lee, who is convinced that we're not alone in the universe, says the JFK assassination files and UFOs are linked and the release should be sped up. This is nothing new. I talked about this a long time ago on a JFK episode because, if hopefully you know that I'm kind of fascinated with the whole JFK assassination thing after being told by somebody who was there that day as a police officer there was no possible way that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, and there was somebody at the grassy knoll. Go back and find that episode. But this guy says that JFK talked about UFOs right before he died. And that's true. He totally did. He wanted to know what was going on with UFOs right before he was assassinated. And he says, from my own investigations, I believe there's a connection between the assassinations of JFK, RFK, Marilyn Monroe, and UFOs. A document known as the Burned Memo was released in 2011, purporting to be from JFK requesting a review by the FBI of all their files relating to UFOs. 10 days later, he was assassinated. Before this, Marilyn Monroe, who was the alleged lover of both JFK and RFK, Kurt here, not alleged, true, was going to hold a press conference and allegedly reveal the truth about UFOs, which she had learned from both Kennedy brothers. That part, Not even remotely proven. She died the weekend before this press conference, and some say she was deliberately killed to keep the UFO subject secret and the truth kept from the American people. Kurt here, no. She was killed because it was bad for RFK, who was going to be running for president. That's what happened. In my opinion only. He added, this truth about UFOs doesn't necessarily mean we're being visited by aliens from another planet. It could be a number of things. And after speaking with Professor Simon Holland, who is the former BBC science editor and NASA filmmaker, he suggested that a lot of UFOs are actually man-made, secret, advanced technology, and that ever since the Manhattan Project and the development of the atom bomb, the military have wanted to weaponize physics. Sure, of course. This weaponization of physics allegedly led to anti-gravity craft and other exotic technologies, which have been developed by unregulated departments in the U.S. military that don't have the answers to that don't have to answer to the president. Yeah, sure, 100%. Nothing will happen. Unfortunately, in my mind, the JFK files, they're going to be released. That burned memo, it's been validated. It's real. All he did was ask for all the information about UFOs. He wasn't going to say, and then I'm going to tell the American people. None of that. But I don't think anything amazing. I don't think any smoking gun, sadly, will ever be released about JFK. I don't think a president has that information or the ability to release that information. So it is what it is. Alrighty, up next in paranormal news, an absolutely bizarre story came out this past week. Ghost Adventurer's Aaron Goodwin files for divorce after his wife's arrest in a murder-for-hire plot. That's right, Victoria Goodwin was arrested in March in connection to the murder-for-hire plot that targeted the TV star, Ghost Adventurer star Aaron Goodwin. What an absolutely insane story. It's just a horrific story. There's arrest report, a text message between Victoria Goodwin and an inmate in Florida cited saying, "Am I a bad person because I chose to end his existence and not divorce?" The murder plot was allegedly formed in October of 2024. Authorities discovered the plan after they seized the Florida inmate's contraband phone. Police officials said Victoria gave information about her husband's location to the inmate in texts. She texted the inmate, "He's asleep right now in the hotel room. I need to know what's going on. Can I get an update, please? Was it done?" Police also said Victoria was going to pay the alleged hitman an upfront payment of $2,500 and $11,515 in total. What kind of random ass total is that for killing somebody? I'll give you $11,500 if you kill my husband. Nope, not enough. I need $11,515 or I'm not going to do it. Okay, fine, I'll do it. What a effed up, weird ass situation. Absolutely terrible. Look, I don't care how bad your marriage is. Just get a divorce. If that's the possibility, if your choices are get a divorce or hire an inmate in prison to get a hitman to kill your husband, just get a divorce. Unless you're married to Elon Musk. Up next in paranormal news, fortune teller arrested after bizarre suicide of 2 followers. That's right. This comes out of Japan. Almost 5 years after 2 corpses washed ashore on a lonely beach, a self-proclaimed fortune teller and her acolyte have been arrested on suspicion of convincing the 2 men to kill themselves by walking into the sea together. You got to really be convincing to make me go, yeah, screw it. I'll kill myself by walking into the sea together. The Osaka police announced on March 11th the arrest of Yoshi Hamada, 62, who calls herself the Creator, and a 59-year-old Tokyo woman. They're being held in connection with the deaths of 2 men, one in his 60s and the other's in his 50s. Their bodies were found alongside the shore in Hiragawa on August 1st, 2020, bound at the wrist to one another by a microphone cord. Let's see. According to investigative sources, around 2008, the men discovered Hamada's website, which advertised mystical consultations about personal problems. After the men became acquainted with Hamada, police believe she gained significant influence over them, and convinced them to commit suicide by drowning. Investigative sources say Hamada told the 2 men to kill themselves to cleanse all evil from the people they knew. That's messed up. An autopsy concluded that both men died of drowning. Big shock there. But the case took a turn in May of 2024 when Osaka man consulted local police. He claimed to have been extorted by Hamada after she read his fortune. He also told police that Hamada was involved in the deaths of two men, I'm assuming. So yeah, they went, checked her out, and hey, creator, you're going to jail. I predict you're going to jail. What an effed up world we live in that someone can have that much influence over anybody. I've been to a lot of fortune tellers for the show and even prior to the show, and there's never been one that if they said, your fortune is you're going to tie yourself to another person, then go walk out into the sea until you're dead, I'd be like, no, I'm going to have my $5 back. Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to the fair. What the hell, lady? Anyhow, that about does it for paranormal news. Let's keep on keeping on. Oh, one more thing before we take a quick break. Sadly, TeePublic is going away. It's changing over to Dashery. So if you want to get merch, it's just changed from TeePublic to Dashery. But if you want to get my merch, you have to head over to paranormal-almanac.dashery.com. It's not any easier to remember at all. Once again, that's paranormal-almanac.dashery.com. But I did complain to the TeePublic rep person, whatever, that I have, that I was really upset that they're moving because when I released a bunch of new shirts just recently, they would show up for on sale on TeePublic, but regular price on Dashery and more expensive. So I let her know that, hey, I think I'm going to have to go with a different T-shirt vendor or creator, whatever you want to call it. And she said, no. Trust me, it'll be great. As soon as it switches over, which is coming very soon, Kurt, will have the ability to control my prices and sales. So, fingers crossed, let's see how it goes. I'm not going to keep the shirts at $22 each. I think that is a bit pricey I would love to buy more shirts, but not at $22 each. So, I am going to look at lowering the prices and seeing how often I can do sales. And, it's a bummer. I really liked how quickly and easy TeePublic was, but if they're not going to give you guys decent sales or decent prices, then no, that's not going to help me. It's not going to help you. Anyhow, so hopefully I'll be able to control my prices and the sales when they go on sale. So we'll keep you posted on all that fun stuff. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. We are back. On this edition, like I said, I wanted to talk about haunted islands only. Sure, I did, I think I pretty much did a whole episode about Poveglia Island or whatever you call it in Italy. I know I've talked about Alcatraz before in episodes, probably a few episodes. I'm assuming haunted prisons and then, all that kind of fun stuff. And they are messed up. Go check out that island in Italy. It's a insane story. But I wanted to talk more about haunted islands. And even though Rhode Island has a lot of ghosts, it's not really an island, which I had never thought about before writing up the outline to this one. And I was like, I want to know why it's called Rhode Island if it's not a freaking island. It's just a state. So here's your little Paranormal Almanac fun fact for the day. Technically, it is unclear how the island came to be named Rhode Island, and it's not an island at all. How the state came to be named Rhode Island. But two historical events might have been influential. Explorer Giovanni di Verrazzano noted the presence of an island near the mouth of the, I'm going to say this wrong, sorry people, Narragansett Bay in 1524, which he likened to the islands off Rhodes off the coast of Greece. So he called it Rhode Island. He just saw an island that's off of Rhode Island and went, I'll call that Rhode Island. Or Adrian Bloch passed by the island during his expeditions in the 1610s, described it in a 1625 account of his travels as, quote, an island of reddish appearance, which was in Rodelijk Island in 17th century Dutch, meaning a red or reddish island. So, historians think that is how we get it, but the earliest documented use of the name Rhode Island was in 1637 by Roger Williams. The name was officially applied to the island, not an island, in 1644 with the words, hence shall be forth called the Isle of Rhodes or Rhode Island. The state, now, get this, this is something, so that's how they think it possibly came to be. No one knows for sure. It's a stupid name because it's not an island at all, but the landlocked state of Rhode Island was officially the state of Rhode Island and Providence Plantations until November 3rd of 2020. Do you guys know this? I didn't know this. I've always just known it's Rhode Island. I don't think I've ever been there, but it's just been Rhode Island. I didn't know it was technically called the state of Rhode Island and the Providence Plantations until November 3rd, 2020, when state voters approved an amendment to the state's constitution dropping the and Providence Plantations because that's pretty messed up. You guys can figure that out. So, yeah, I've never known it as anything except Rhode Island, and the fact that nobody really knows why it's called Rhode Island is freaking weird, and may I also say dumb. Oh, here's another real quick fun fact. No one knows who named Earth, Earth. Yeah, look it up. I suggest getting high and going down that rabbit hole one day. I was trying to figure out how to do that in a full episode about like why is Earth named Earth. Nobody knows. Look it up. It's weird. Go down that rabbit hole. But we're here to talk about real islands on planet Earth, not Rhode Island. Sorry, people of Rhode Island that are listening to this episode. Figure out why your state's called Rhode Island, then we'll talk. But I want to talk about real islands and only ones that are really haunted. So I figured I got to do a big chunk of this episode about an island in my home state. One of the prettiest islands I've ever been to. I'm talking about Mackinac Island. Look, if I wasn't from Michigan, I'd be calling it Mackinac Island right now, but I know it's called Mackinac Island, and if you have seen the movie Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeve, you've seen Mackinac Island. If you've seen Expedition X, Secrets of Mackinac, that episode, you've seen Mackinac Island. If you've been to Mackinac Island, and, you know, you've seen Mackinac Island. Only if you can see, that is. If you've been to Mackinac Island and you have the ability to see and you're not blind, then yes, you've seen Mackinac Island. Look, I loved going there, getting a big old wedge of fudge and then bicycling all over the island until I felt like puking. True story. That really happened. It's fantastic fudge. You can't drive a car on Mackinac Island, so you got to ride a bicycle. Yeah, I almost puked. But what about ghosts? Let's get to the ghost part of Mackinac Island. Well, you can't swing a dead podcast host there without hitting a ghost. I'm telling you, there are ghosts all over Mackinac Island. So where do I start? I figured, well, I'm going to start in the biggest, coolest, main thing. If you pull up a picture of Mackinac Island, your chances are you're going to see this place. It's called the Grand Hotel, which I got to say, it's pretty grand. I've been there. It's very grand. Never stayed there, though. I'd like to stay there. It was built in 1887, and, fun fact, when construction started, yep, they found human remains because, well, all of Mackinac Island is a Native American burial ground. It just is. Again, you can't, dig a hole without hitting something part of Native American burial ground. It is insane. It's mostly the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of the Chippewa Indians. They inhabited the island for a very long time. It was also bloody war or fights or battles. I guess battles would be the best way of saying it, that happened on Mackinac Island. Now, some sites say it was actually a different hotel. Like when they tore down the McNally cottage to build a big hotel, they found a bunch of bones there too. But I got to say, from everything I can find, it was pretty much anything that was built on Mackinac Island, they found an Indian burial ground or human remains, and it was definitely the Grand Hotel as well. The reason I say this is the Grand Hotel does not like to be associated with the paranormal. Even though it's haunted as fuck, they don't want any part of the paranormal. If you stay there, you cannot do a paranormal investigation while you're staying there. They frown on all things ghosts. I don't get why. I really don't. If you got someone who's paying money to stay there and they want to wander the halls with a any kind of ghost equipment. Just let them do it. What's the harm in doing that? Now, if they're being loud and obnoxious, then sure, you got to tell them to shut up. But if they're being quiet and just walking around filming, looking for ghosts, let them do it. Alrighty, I'm back. I had to sell something off of Facebook Marketplace, so I had to take a quick break. But I am back. Where was I? Oh, yeah. It was definitely the Grand Hotel. It's everything that's ever been built on Mackinac Island. They find bones. Look, the whole island is basically a huge Native American burial ground where a military fort was built. Lots of people were killed. It's got a lot of bloody history is what I'm saying. But the Grand Hotel, that's what I was saying. The Grand Hotel, not into the paranormal. Keep it on the down low if you're staying there because you want to see a ghost. But it has some cool, not bone-related history, too. Like, the Grand Hotel hosted the first public demonstration of Thomas Edison's phonograph out there on the porch. And I'm sure if you don't know what the Grand Hotel looks like, you're thinking a tiny porch. No, it is probably one of the biggest porches in America, I'm going to guess. As well as other regular demonstrations of Thomas Edison's other new inventions or things he stole. So what's seen at the Grand Hotel paranormally? Well, lots. Like, let's start with the best one. An evil entity, black mass type thing that has glowing red eyes. I don't know why they call it the evil entity. I couldn't find it doing anything evil. Lots and lots of reports about a black mass. Lots and lots of reports about a black mass with glowing red eyes, but nothing evil that I could find, other than the fact that it's got to be a little bit scary looking. But it's seen all over the Grand Hotel. Then, a lot of sites say that a maintenance man working on the hotel's theater stage, he reported that black mass rushed after him, knocking him off his feet. Evil? Not so much. I mean, sucks, not fun, but I wouldn't exactly call it evil. Staff reported seeing a man in a top hat playing at the bar's piano. He's seen there an awful lot. Others see a woman in Victorian clothes who roams the halls. And the woman that's roaming the halls of Victorian clothes also likes to get in bed with guests. And it's not always the same room, the same bed, it seems like. It just seems like she just randomly goes, yeah, I'll get in bed with this guy or this woman. If you want to see ghosts in Victorian clothes, the Grand Hotel at Mackinac Island is the place to be. Because, man, there are a ton of sightings. I had to stop looking because every place that you can review the Grand Hotel has stories about people seeing men or women or boys or girls wearing Victorian clothing. Ghosts, not just people in weird clothes. Ghosts. Like literally every article that was written about it, someone would say, I stayed at the Grand Hotel and I was walking down the street, walking up to the hotel on the porch, and I saw a man in a bowler hat and Victorian clothes walking towards me. He just disappeared. And, there's just tons of them. They seem to be never-ending stories about ghosts in Victorian clothing all over the hotel, all over the grounds of the hotel, just a ton of them. Then there is the woman in black who walks her big white dog up and down the hotel's front porch after dark. She disappears around corners, and then you go around the corner and she's gone. Or if you're watching, as soon as she's about to turn the corner, her and the dog vanish. Another is the ghost of, quote, little Rebecca, who I'm going to say supposedly, who supposedly passed away on the grounds and haunts the 4th floor. She's often spotted floating or walking through the halls before disappearing. There's a lot of people that say Rebecca walks through walls because the floor plans have changed. That's the words I'm trying to say. The floor plans have changed, but I can't find anything about like major refurbishments or whatever you call it, like retooling of the hotel or reworking of the hotel. It just seems like it's always kind of been that way. So I don't know about that one, but, take that with a grain of salt. But still not enough ghosts for you yet, the Grand Hotel yet? All right, here's some more. If you want the best chances to see a ghost at the Grand Hotel from everything I could find, get Suite 290E. E as in E.T. It's all the basic haunting stuff there. You're going to see Victorian ghosts. You're going to see ghosts walk through the walls or walk through the doors. You're going to see things move. The lights go on and off. Covers being pulled off of you. You'll put something down. You'll turn around and it's gone. And you'll find it on the other side of the room. All the basics, the shadows, the voices, you name it. Whispers, you name it. Suite 290E seems to be your best chance. But again, if you stay at the Grand Hotel, I'm not sure if you can say you want Suite 290. I guess you could. You could be like, hey, I stayed here forever ago, and it's our suite or something like that. Don't say because you want the ghosts, because they seem to not like that stuff here. Or you can go down to the theater at the Grand Hotel. The ghost here is named Harvey. Some say he was murdered, but Kurt here, I can't find any evidence to support there was a murder at the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island. But whether or not he was murdered, Harvey does seem to like to pinch and poke people. So, he's a creeper ghost. There's a fun creeper theater ghost for you. Also seen at the Grand Hotel, a woman in a white gown. She's seen in hotel rooms and getting into beds with guests. Again, which room? No idea. I couldn't find specifics. It seems like it's in various rooms. So good luck. You have a 1 in 388 chance to pick the right or maybe wrong room to have a ghost woman get in bed with you. I got to say, that is on my bucket list. Now, I don't need the full Ghostbusters, when Dan Aykroyd in that Ghost, if you don't know what scene I'm talking about, go watch the movie. I don't need that full scene, but I would like a woman ghost to get in bed with me. Nothing has to happen, purely platonic, just so I can say, like, yeah, I had a woman ghost get in bed with me once. That just seems like a cool thing for a paranormal podcast host to say. All right, what else is the Grand Hotel? You got your shadows. You got your footsteps. Your things moving. Your smells of cigars and cigarettes and perfumes. Your knocks. Your moans. Your voices. Your lights turning off and on. You're slamming the doors shut on their own. This place has it all. But it's not just the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island. That's all your fun stuff that has there. But let's move on to the next place. It's called the Pine Cottage Bed and Breakfast. It's haunted by 4 ghosts. That's it. No more, no less. You got the man, the little girl, the woman, and the creature. If you stay here, get room 4. Everything I can see, you got to get room 4 at the Pine Cottage Bed and Breakfast. That's where people have seen the woman. She's said to be nice and helpful. Doesn't seem to get into bed with you. Again, there are all kinds of rumors that she was murdered there in 1942. I can't find anything about it online. Another room, no idea which one. If you don't want to get room 4, hopefully you'll get lucky because another room has the man, who, dumb legend says, is the murderer of the woman. Why? No idea. No one says a word about who she is, what her name is, what his name is, why he happens to be the murderer. It just seems that they see the ghost of a man in another room. That's it. He doesn't seem to do anything. He doesn't seem to have like a murder weapon, or, like a lead pipe or a candlestick or whatever. No, it's just they see the ghost of a man. And again, having a ghost isn't enough for some people, so they got to make up a stupid backstory. So they say, he's the man of the murdered woman in the room 4. It's got to be. Why would there be a man ghost and then a woman ghost? Come on. Then you have the little girl, or as some sites say, Lucy. I don't know where they came up with the name Lucy or why, but some sites call her Lucy. I'll just call her the little girl. She's the ghost of a young girl with curly hair, light-colored sundress, some kind of like either strawberry blonde or blonde hair. She's said to have been seen following people on the Crow's Nest Trail staircase, peeking out windows at the Pine Cottage Bed and Breakfast. No idea. Go there, look around. You see a young girl with curly hair in a light-colored sundress that looks like she's a ghost and not some kid that's just staying there. There you go. Ask her if her name's Lucy, I guess. Then you have the creature, who, legend says, is a mutated man with horns down his back. Why? No idea. I literally can't find anyone that said, I have seen, when I stayed at Pine, whatever it's called, Pine Cottage Bed and Breakfast. When I stayed at the Pine Cottage Bed and Breakfast, I didn't get to see the woman or the man or a little girl, but I did see a creature that looks like a man with horns down his back. No, they just say they see this amorphous blob. I couldn't find any specific eyewitnesses to the creature, but again, every site you look at says there are 4 ghosts, and the 4th one is the creature. Bum, bum, bum. Alrighty. All of this murder on Mackinac Island, especially in the Pine Cottage Bed and Breakfast, led me down a rabbit hole. I wanted to know what known murders happened on Mackinac Island. Guess what I could find? One murder on Mackinac Island. And it wasn't back in the 1940s or the 1920s or the 1800s. I mean, look, there was a lot of murders on Mackinac Island of indigenous people and, during battles and shit like that. But I'm talking about like normal, everyday people coming to the island. Oh, and they got murdered, that kind of stuff. I could only find one. It's an unsolved murder. And it was on July 24th, 1960. That's when widow Frances Lacey was murdered on Mackinac Island. Like I said, it's unsolved despite a massive manhunt, like a week-long manhunt that they did. Let me read a little bit about her murder to you. Unsolved murder on Mackinac Island. So this woman, this widow, like I said, she shows up on Mackinac Island. She went down to the hotel lobby. She left her baggage there, left her key on the desk. She has breakfast in a little restaurant at the Murray Hotel. Then she sets out on foot. Boom. That's the last time anyone ever saw her alive. 4 days later, about 3 miles from the middle of the island, or the main part of the island where everybody stays at, I should say, just inside a fence was a wire fence, and that's where they found some hair. And then there was an overturned boat. It was on it's private property now, but it was like a trail back in the day. There was an overturned boat, like an old rowboat kind of thing, and they see her shoes under it. And then 40 feet from that, someone found her body. It was a couple. They found her body. They found her purse, and so her body was found. Everybody's like, "Holy shit, there's a murderer." Then a couple found her purse. They went back to Detroit with the purse before they turned it in, which I think is really freaking weird, instead of turning in at Mackinac Island. Unfortunately, she was sexually assaulted and strangled with her own underwear and murdered on Mackinac Island. Her wallet was later found near the Grand Hotel. Like I said, about like a whole shit ton of people. Some sites say 25, some sites say 50. Police officers converged on the island to investigate it. They had photos of her. They interviewed people that might have been on the island at the same time as her. It's unsolved. It is unsolved. They think that there was a guy there, like a lot of people online, like these armchair expert kind of people. They say that there was a guy that was arrested in Ionia for breaking and entering. When he was arrested, they said he was on Mackinac Island, and it seems like he had a lot of information about Mrs. Lacey. But again, Frances Lacey seems to be the only murder that I could find that happened in modern times on Mackinac Island. Yeah, it's a really weird story, but again, for whatever reason, having a ghost isn't enough. You have to give the ghost a very spooky, scary backstory that they were murdered. And that ghost, he's also the murderer and that kind of crap. All right, from here, let's go to Fort Holmes on Mackinac Island, where many people have reported seeing ghostly soldiers talking basically incoherently. They can't really hear what they're saying before disappearing. That's all that I could find. I mean, some of the basics, but that's pretty much all I could find at Fort Holmes. But sticking with forts, let's go to Fort Mackinac. It's a Revolutionary War era fort. People that come here, like tourists come here, they have reported strange orbs. Plus, in the hospital of the fort, some have felt, quote, the feelings of sadness and have also seen the apparition of phantom limbs. Yeah, that's right. Not whole ghosts, but ghost body parts. Now, that's a good idea for a future episode, Kurt. Yeah, that's just weird. Like, it's weird enough seeing a ghost, but seeing just like ghost, like an amputated ghost arm, that's messed up. Also, I wouldn't think that that has to be at a residual haunt, because there's no like most interactive haunts, or some people say that ghosts are haunting a place because there's something left to do. What's left to do for just a hand? Like, what's a hand's ultimate thing? And it's not like the hand's going to go up to heaven alone. Or is there an angel up in heaven, or a person up in heaven missing their hand, going like looking down and being like, come on, ghost hand, come up here. Ghost hands, ghost body parts, weird, ghost limbs, freaking weird. But there's more here too, more heard here too, because people hear often the sounds of crying babies, along with the sounds of furniture moving where there is none, motion detectors going off when there's nobody around, and at Officer Stone's quarters, ghost children are said to be playing with real display toys, like leaving them thrown around the floor in the morning. They'll go and put them back in the display. Next morning, they're all, wonky again. So it seems like ghost kids are constantly playing there. There is a legend of two ghost children. The legend says their father was stationed there. So a lot of people think they know who the ghost children are. I call bullshit on that too. You can't know unless you saw a photo of this guy's, Officer Stone's, that was stationed there. You saw a photo of his kids, and then you see those ghosts and they look exactly like it. Nah, I don't think so. But nonetheless, there are ghost children there. And then there's also a phantom piper heard playing on misty mornings at the north entryway. So Fort Mackinac seems like a good place to see ghosts, or ghost kids, if that's something you want to see. As you know, I hate ghost kids, but that's on you guys. All right, let's walk over to the Old Post Cemetery. This is another area where it's all basic paranormal activity has been reported. And I mean a ton of it. But it's all the basics. So let's keep on moving on to the next big paranormal spot on the island. It's called the Drowning Pool. I don't want to go swimming in anything called the Drowning Pool. In the 1700s and early 1800s, I don't know, late 1700s, early 1800s, somewhere around there, 7 women were accused of being witches. Back in those days, one of the methods used for determining if you're a witch was to tie rocks to your feet, throw you in the water, if you float or not. If they sank, you're innocent. But, innocent and dead, so big win. If you float, you're guilty. You're a witch. So the 7 accused women were thrown into a lagoon on the island between Mission Point and downtown Mackinac. This is all grain of salt. Take all of this with a grain of salt, because it seems like this would be a bigger story that 7 women were killed for being witches in Michigan. But again, every site says it's true, but I'm going to say grain of salted. But anyhow, 7 women thrown into a lagoon on the island between Mission Point and downtown Mackinac. All of them sank and drowned. So, yay, all innocent. Legend says the women haunt the waters to this day. Visitors report seeing mysterious splashings, shadows, and dark figures floating above the surface. I guess you just can't keep a good woman down. Nope. There we go. Can't keep a good woman down. No, know what I mean? Anyhow, so that about does it for, there's tons more, but it's all a lot of the more basic stuff. Pretty much anywhere you go on the island, there's a chance you're going to see or hear a ghost, but it's a lot of more of the paranormal basic stuff. But that led to a question of, why is Mackinac Island so haunted? Besides the whole, it's a ginormous Indian burial ground. Well, paranormal experts think it's because the island is mostly made up of limestone and quartz, and there's a lot of moving water around it, which are the 3 key elements, it seems, for paranormal activity. So that makes total sense to me. But I think the Indian burial ground part is a huge part of it. Look, if anybody can find proof of more murders on Mackinac Island, again, not like battles, not like Native American killings, none of that stuff, but like actual murders. please let me know, because it is a fascinating island. It is a fascinating rabbit hole that I went down. I expected to talk about Mackinac Island for about 2 minutes on this episode, and it turned out, however long this has been. But since this episode isn't every ghost ever seen on Mackinac Island, let's move on. Oh, wait, I forgot to look up how to pronounce it. I don't want to piss anybody off. Hold on. Let's do that right now. Oh, come on. Pronunciation. There we go. I know how to say it, but I want to make sure.
We're a bicycle company,
We're
but
not a bicycle company. I'm trying to learn how to say a word, you idiots. Say it.
Chiloé.
Chiloé. All right, I was going to say it right. Chiloé. All right. Let's move on to Chiloé Island off the coast of Chile. All right, good. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to say that one wrong, too, since I already knew how to say pretty much everything on Mackinac. All right, Chiloé Island off the coast of Chile. First, let me say, this is a hard island to visit. It's either a hard island to visit because of the near constant rain and the remoteness of the island, or it's because it is the most haunted place in all of Chile. Look, Kurt here, it's the rain for me. I don't want to, I don't like a rainy boat ride to a insanely haunted island, but, if I gotta, I will. I'm just saying, Mackinac Island, not rainy all the time and not hard to get to. But anyhow, let's find out more about Chiloé Island. Let's go to legend time. That's right, a lot of this will be legend. Legend time. Long before Chiloé came under Spanish rule, there were a coven of warlocks called brujos. Brujos who lived in caves. Basically, they terrorized the townspeople until witch hunts tore through the island in the 1880s, and, Catholicism tried to change the brujos' ways. I say legend, but all of that is recorded as to have happened. That there were these guys that called themselves brujos. That I'll get you their name in a minute, but they called themselves brujos. They were way into witchcraft, magic. Didn't care about Catholicism or Jesus at all. They were like, nah, we're good. We've accepted the devil. And how you became one of the brujos was a thing called a debaptism ceremony, which I'll tell you about in a minute. Well, basically, it consists of remaining under a waterfall for 40 days. So at least they were safe from the quiet thing. Like, the quiet place, those things, at least they were safe from those for 40 days. But the process was said to enable them to do all kinds of really crazy cool magic stuff, including transforming into animals, powerful curses. It gets weirder. Don't worry. Local children called Mbunche were said to guard the brujos' caves and sustain themselves on bodies brought to them from the local cemetery. But this is all legend, right? It says, you said legend time, Kurt. It's all nonsense, right? Well, no, because like I just alluded to, there is a lot of evidence that all of this could have happened. Let me back up a little bit. The source of the witchcraft is attributed to a legendary encounter between Jose de Moraleda y Montero and Helice Machi Chapilla, who defeated Moraleda in a duel of witchcraft, and he obtained this book of magic that some people think is a European book of magic, but I don't know. He just got this book of magic. We don't know where it came from. So he started looking into this magic, this witchcraft, on the island. And he moved into a cave, and the more he read, the more he was way into it. And then in 1980, Chilean authorities put on trial warlocks. That happened. And these warlocks were said to rule Chiloé Island and were part of a secret society. That's all true. They were part of a secret society called La Recta Provincia, or La Mayoría. Its origins dated back to the colonial period when navigator Jose de Moraleda, the guy I was just talking about, visited Chiloé in 1786. they, like I said, they got that weird magic book wherever it came from, started to learn all this fun, cool, crazy stuff. They did a debaptism ceremony I'll talk to you about in just a second. And they were able to fly using a makun, which is made from the skin of a dead virgin's chest. So they're riding around or able to fly on a thing that's made from a virgin's titties, basically. They're also able to turn into certain animals. That's what they said on trial. Whether this actually happened, you got to figure it out for yourself. But on trial, under oath, this is what they said and what some of the people testifying, eyewitnesses that testified, said they saw in 1880. They saw these people do. Turn into animals, inflict harm from distances. They said that their knowledge of plants and animals enabled them to brew powerful potions. They said that they were able to tame the Caballo Marino Chelote, which is a Chelote hippocampus, and also they were able to safely board a ghost ship called the Caluche. Sure, this is all things that were said on trial by either them or eyewitnesses in 1880. It gets weirder, people. Buckle up. It's not even close to being done. During the trial, it turned out that they do have a weakness: salt. So, the Winchesters were right. Yeah. A lot of this, though, comes from one guy who stumbled upon their story in the 1970s. His name is Bruce Chatwin. He stumbled across the court records. Pardon me. And he said that these Brujos belonged to a secret sect of male witches that existed for the purpose of hurting people. And according to their own statements made during the trial of 1880, so almost 100 years later, he's talking about this, they ran protection rackets on the island, disposing of their enemies by poisoning or by magically inflicted profound slashes. So slashing them up, but magically. What he means by that is that they were nowhere near their enemies, but all of a sudden the enemies just started getting these insane, crazy, big, profound slashes across their bodies. It seems magical. That seems bad. Once again, they belong to the La Recta Provincia, which is loosely translated as the righteous province, or the Mayora, which is the majority. They thought that there was some sort of like alternative government and were, trying to do what was best for themselves. But anyhow, so the warlocks, they were brought to court in 1880 by a Cholote farmer by the name of Mateo Conucar. I don't know how you say that. Conucar. Doesn't matter. He's dead. He's been dead for a long time. This guy was 70 years old. He said that he had been a member of this righteous province for more than 2 decades, but then started getting like, we're doing too many fucked up things. I don't want to be part of them anymore. I'm afraid, and that's why they were brought to trial. He said their headquarters are located in a vast cavern, 40 or more yards long, whose secret entrance had been cleverly concealed in the side of a ravine. The cave on this island has yet to have been found. So it could still be out there, people. Still holding that book. You can ride virgin titties while flying, all that fun stuff. The cave, which he said was lit by torches burning human fat, was hidden somewhere outside the little coastal village of Quicave, Q-U-I-C-A-V-I. So there's your chance. If you want to go on the worst Goonies treasure hunt ever, that's where you start. He said that the cave is home to a pair of monsters that guarded the society's most treasured possessions, which is that book of magic, and a bowl that, filled with water, allowed secrets to be seen. So, some cool magic stuff to be found if you go there, and you can find them, and you can get past the 2 monsters and all the other weird shit. Anyhow, in his testimony, this part is true. They found it among the papers of a Chilean historian who died in 1886 named Benjamin McKenna. It includes a remarkable recollection of this historian's first visit to the cave. So in 1886, this guy was able to find the caves. He said 20 years ago. So now we're back to 1866. When Jose Merriman was king, he was ordered to go to the cave with meat for some animals that lived inside. He complied with the order and took them the meat of a kid he had slaughtered. So I'm hoping they mean goat, not boy. Merriman went with them, and when they reached the cave, he started dancing about like a sorcerer and quickly opened the entryway. This was covered over with a layer of earth and grass to keep it hidden, and under this, there was a piece of metal, quote, the alchemy key. So he uses the alchemy key to open the entryway, and was then faced with two completely disfigured beings which burst out of the gloom and rushed towards him. One looked like a goat, for it had dragged itself along on four legs. The other was a naked man with completely white beard and hair down to his waist. Fun fact, right now while I'm recording this, I am completely naked. Obviously, I've got a white beard, and my hair is down to my waist. No relation. Other records of the Righteous Province, to learn more about the hideous creatures, said that the goat-like monster was the Chivato, a deformed mute covered in piggish bristles. The other one, the more dangerous one, was the Invunche or Imbunche. It had once been a human baby, had been kidnapped in infancy, and then mutated into being this guard of the cave, if you will. All right, continuing on with the stuff that this guy Chapman found in the 1970s. When the sect needs a new Invunche, the Council of the Cave orders a member to steal a boy, about 6 months to a year old. The deformer, a permanent resident of the cave, starts work at once. He disjoints the arms and legs and the hands and feet. Then he begins the delicate task of altering the position of the head. You got to be delicate, kids. Look, if you're going to take anything away from this episode, if you're going to mutate a baby into an Invunche, be delicate when altering the position of the head. Day after day, and for hours at a stretch, he twists the head with a tourniquet until it is rotated through an angle of 180 degrees. That is, until the child can look straight down the line of its own vertebrae. Why would you want that? All right. There remains one last operation for which another specialist is needed. At a full moon, the child is laid on a workbench, lashed down with its head covered in a bag. Good, no one wants to see that kid's head. The specialist cuts a deep incision under the right shoulder blade. Into the hole, he inserts the right arm and sews up the wound with the thread taken from the neck of a ewe. When it was healed, the Invunche is complete. That is some gore porn, human centipede-like shit right there. It feeds on human flesh. It's confined below ground. Neither the Invunche or the Chivato receive any kind of education, so don't you teach them nothing. Neither have human speech. Over the years, does develop a working knowledge of the committee's procedures and can instruct novices with harsh and guttural cries. So I guess it does learn stuff. That's not, you're kind of, you're not sticking to the lore here, but all right. Anyhow, then this guy goes on to talk about how the members of the Righteous Province could possess the ability to fly. He says it's using a special word, and I'm going to give you the special word right now. It's kind of like Pee Wee Herman. When I say the special word, everybody goes, ah! The ability to fly, if you have the skin from a virgin's chest, is a real hue. A real hue. A real hue. Nope. It's kind of close. Is what I'm looking for. All right. They say the word a real hue as they leapt into the air, and wearing a magical waistcoat known as the Makun, that's the virgin titties, they now have the power to defy gravity. Each novice, when he joined the sect, was expected to fashion his own waistcoat by digging up and flaying a recently interred virgin Christian corpse. All right. Once dried and cured, the skin was sewn into a loose garment. Oh, it's kind of like the hat that fucking cursed hat from What We Do in the Shadows. It's kind of like that. He said that the detail that the human grease remaining in the skin gives off a soft phosphorescence, which lights the members' nocturnal expeditions. So the virgin boobies glow. It's a waistcoat, so it's a vest. So you wear a vest made of virgin boobies, and it glows as you fly by saying the word Aurelio. This was all said in court. It's insane to me. And not by one person, by multiple people. It's not like just one guy was sitting there going like, yeah, and then we we cut up dead virgin boobies and we wear them as a vest. But, if you say the word Aurelio and then you jump, then you fly. But the vest, it glows because you don't want to be up there in the sky in the dark. No, it's said by a bunch of people during court. Okay. So, in 1880, the people of the court, the judge and all the people that work in the court, they went, all right, we got to find this cave. We got to put an end to this. But they didn't know all this cool, funky, special stuff. So they said that they went to the place where the cave was supposed to be, and it's just a wall of dirt. But that's what happens if you don't have all the magical cool shit. So they couldn't find it. An exhaustive search of the cave happened in 1880, but they couldn't find it. Yeah, I don't know. But I'm not done yet, because there were prisoners that were also said that, like, hey, you're our prisoner. You were part of this. Are you part of this group? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, cool, you're our prisoner. They admitted during trial that when they joined the society, each warlock was given a small live lizard, which he wore strapped to his head with a bandana so that it was next to his skin. I know, this is all kinds of batshit crazy, but they said it was a magical creature, and you might get all kinds of forbidden knowledge from your little head lizard there, including how to transform into an animal, how to open locked doors, and that's how they got into all these places when they were killing all of their enemies, was by the little tiny lizard on their head told them what to do and what to say. I don't know, man. It is all kinds of crazy. Like, the more I learned, the more I was like, this has got to be just bullshit nonsense, 4chan or Reddit kind of nonsense. No, it all seems to have happened. The court stuff, all of the court stuff and what they said in court all seems to have happened. It goes on to talk about how that ghost ship, the Coluche, still haunts the coast. People do still see. All right, so this is where it kind of diverges into modern day. People today do talk about seeing a ghost ship just off the coast, and they now say it's got to be the Coluche. So this Coluche, according to the documents in court, they said, yeah, we used to go on the Coluche. We were able to go out, get on there, and the Coluche still haunts your coast. It harvests the souls of drowned sailors. The society, when they would get on the Coluche, used adolescent girls who were stripped naked and forcibly fed a drink made of wolf oil and the juice of a natri, which is a fruit only found in Chiloé. This potion was supposedly so noxious that it made it vomit up their own intestines. Thus lightened, these girls then turned into large, long-legged birds whose caws are the most unpleasant sounds ever to fall on a human ear, according to court documents. And when the bird women would return at daybreak, they would re-ingest their entrails and become human girls again. It just gets weirder and weirder and weirder the more you look into it. But anyhow, back to the debaptism ceremony that you had to do to become a member. You're first required to wash away all traces of your baptism by bathing in freezing waters, either under a waterfall or the waters of the river, on 15 consecutive nights. Then, you're not done yet, then they're ordered to murder a close relative or a friend to prove that they had cleansed themselves of human sentiment. These murders, for some unknown reason, had to take place on Tuesdays. If you're going to do these murders, it's got to be on a Tuesday. Then, still not done yet, you're still not debaptized yet, then you had to run around the island naked, calling to the devil 3 times. It is the worst frat prank bullshit initiation stuff ever, but that's what you had to do to be debaptized, to start on your way to joining this society. No, thank you. Where is the what am I getting out of this? Sure, I get to look in a bowl and I can see stuff that hasn't happened yet, but everything else seems really, really bad. All right, let's move forward to modern day. See, I told you it'd be batshit crazy. First of all, yes, people still think they see the brujos all the time. And whenever they see a giant bird, boom, that's those virgins that puked up their own intestines and became a bird and flew around and did all the weird shit. People still think that brujos are killing and eating baby flesh or taking babies that were buried in Chiloé or near Chiloé, just off the coast of Chiloé in Chile. People think that, bodies are still being butchered to make vests so that people can fly. People still think that there is a magical devil book, whatever, and the bowl where you can see the future in a secret cave still on Chiloé, just waiting to be found. Yeah, so I guess if you go to Chile, fill one pocket with salt, and if anyone comes up to you, throw salt in their face to be safe. Yep, that is my trip. That is Kurt's travel tip for traveling to Chile. Traveler's checks? Nah. Pocket of salt that you just throw in random people's faces? Yeah, let's do that. Let's try that. Look, that's their only weakness. Their only weakness is a handful of salt. You gotta go with what you know, people. And I guess, again, if you want the worst Goonies expedition ever, you want to find the cave, if any of that, if you were listening to all of that batshit crazy shit I just said, and you were like, ooh, that sounds cool. I can fly by saying a real who and wearing a virgin titty vest. I gotta go there. Look, if any of that appeals to you, I gave you all the info I could find, and I went down rabbit hole after rabbit hole of information, so you don't have to. I do the work, so you don't have to. There's a lot to unpack on Chiloé, but hey, there are worse places to go to, so, go to Chiloé. All righty, let's move on, shall we? Let's go to Daxa Island in Croatia, where Kurt here, the ghosts here suck. Why? Because the ghosts here are Hitler's party. That's right. Hitler's party are said to haunt Daxa Island. So a bunch of fucking Nazi ghosts. If you want to see Nazi ghosts, go to Daxa Island in Croatia. Why? I don't know. But when Nazis lost power over Croatia in 1944, I didn't check the history. I'm just to assume it's right. I'm going to keep on moving on. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Actually, nah, don't. It's Nazis. I'll take their word. Anyhow, Nazis lost power over Croatia in 1944. The locals attempted to rid the island of Hitler's forces and Hitler's sympathizers. So they did the right thing, and they started kicking Nazis' ass. They round up about 300 people that they all said, boom, these dudes, Nazis. Among those were a local priest named Petar Parika and Dubrovnik's own mayor, Niko Kabravica. Sure, why not? And after some, let's just say after some forceful conversations with these people that they detained, they determined that 53 of the 300 people were real evil Nazi scum. So they separated them out from the 300 people. They rode them out to Daxa Island, where on October 24th, 1944, they killed them. Their bodies were not buried, but left to rot across the island. Then, flyers were later distributed around neighboring Dubrovnik by the people that did this, listing the names of the 53 dickholes. It says, in the name of the people of Yugoslavia, there has been no trial. The citizens of Dubrovnik were warned not to go looking for the bodies of friends and family that might have been on that list that are now dead and rotting in the sun on Daxa. Or, if you do try and go there, they will kill them too. So, bold statement. Look, I get it. Kill them. Awesome. Love it. Fuck Nazis. But no one would go to this island. They said the island was haunted. You could see the ghosts of these evil assholes walking around the island, and people just did not go to the island. Then in 2009, authorities were like, well, we should go there and we should try and find out what's true and what's not because it's been a long time. Maybe it's more legend than truth. Nope. They started to just randomly find skeletons with holes in the skulls around the island. Yeah. Then, cut to October 2013. Someone owned the island. Someone owned the evil Nazi ghost island, and they were like, shit, I got to get rid of this evil ghost Nazi island nobody wants to go to. So they put the island up for sale for 2 million euros. After 3 years on the market, no one went to the island at all. So they dropped the price to 1.7 million euros, which is, this is for a 12-acre private island off the coast of Croatia, Dubrovnik, Croatia. They say it's got ruins of historic buildings, boathouse, a dock. Nothing. I can't find if the island ever sold. That was the last that I could find about the newest part of the island. I did find a guy that managed to finally find a boat that would take him to the island. It was kind of a neat story. He went there. First, like 15 people, he was like, hey, I want to go to the island. Everybody's like, no, we don't go to the island. He's like, well, no, you can just drop me off. No, I ain't going to that island. Screw you. There's ghosts. I'm not going to that island. Yeah, it is mainly untouched because he gets to the island, all ruins. He did find some bullet holes in walls and stuff, and where they had found a lot of the bodies, the skeletons. They did bury finally a lot of the skeletons on the island to give them a final burying place, hoping to stop all the ghosts that are still seen there. Look, there's a lot of people that go to Dubrovnik every summer. Nobody wants to have boat tours of the islands. They do them of the surrounding islands, but not Doxa Island. It's basically untouched, and it's because the locals think either the island is cursed or haunted. Now, I can't find like a specific, this is what I saw, other than people say they saw ghosts. There's no like really good detailed eyewitness accounts, but there's a lot of dumb urban legends and 4chan stories and Reddit stories, but I don't want to go down those grain of salt stories. But I still put this one on this episode because whether or not there's actual ghosts, you don't need ghosts for a place to be haunted, and this is a perfect example of that. But it does appear that a lot of unnamed eyewitnesses say, yes, Doxa Island is haunted by Nazi ghosts. Again, I don't need to go there. I'm good. Thanks anyway. Alrighty, the final one on this list is the Isle of Skye in Scotland. And first let's go to the Isle of Skye first, and I'll get to the more specifics. It's said to be one of the most haunted locations in the British Isle. And it has a castle on there. Actually, it has 2 castles on there. One castle, one kind of ruins of a castle. Everything on this island, kind of like Mackinac Island, is haunted. So let's first go to Dunvegan Castle, and I'm sure it's Dunvegan, but whatever. You got all the basics. You got disembodied footsteps, flickering of lights in rooms, voices, whispers, shadows, blah, blah, blah. Then we have one ghost, and that ghost is Dame Flora MacLeod. They know who she is. She still roams the castle corridors and is even seen often all around this castle. Like, she is seen all over the place, and it is so clear. She is so clear. There is no doubt to historians that ghost. That's Dame Flora MacLeod. All right, cool. That's way cool. Then, still at this castle, there is a small band of ghosts that nobody can, identify, that play bagpipe songs in the South Tower. They just hear them. It's like disembodied bagpipe music, which is the worst kind of bagpipe music. The disembodied bagpipe, I want to know where my bagpipes are coming from. But yeah, you got that going there. But before here we go. I was trying to figure out how to segue into this next part, because it's not really a ghost thing, but at Dunvegan Castle, they have what's called the fairy flag. And I wanted to talk about it very, very briefly, because this episode's getting a little long. Dunvegan Castle is said to be protected by a magic fairy flag, which a lot of people, pretty much all the locals, believe wards off malevolent spirits. And then it goes into a, how do I word this? I'm going to give you like this, the bullet point version of it. Then there's a story. It's Shrek. It's a lot like Shrek, but instead of the princess being an ogre, she's a fairy. So plug in the word fairy for ogre and go watch Shrek, and that's what happens at Dunvegan Castle. Boom, that's the easiest way for me to explain it. One last fairy thing about this castle. Legend says there is a fairy tower, and once a baby was seen being comforted by unseen fairy singers. But here's my question. If it's a tower, then A, how do you see that there's a baby up there? And B, of course the singers would be unseen. They're up in a tower. I didn't get that story about the fairy tower. I tried so many different sources, and all of them were very vague and just weird. But there's a lot of fairy stuff that's going to be happening on the Isle of Skye. Tons of it. Dunvegan Castle seems to be protected because they got this magic fairy flag. So don't take the magic fairy flag. Don't mock the magic fairy. I am not mocking the magic fairy flag, by the way. Not at all. Don't mock the magic fairy flag. Don't piss off fairies if you go to Scotland or to the Isle of Skye. That's another travel tip for this one. All right, let's move on over to the castle number 2. It's the ruins of Castle Duntulm Castle. Duntulm was said to be the home of 4 ghosts. First, you got the ghost of Hugh MacDonald, who is seen here all the time. Here's the Reader's Digest version of how he became a ghost. Let's see. Hugh was a nephew to Donald Gorm Moore MacDonald, which sounds like the Klingon version name of Norm MacDonald. Gorm Moore MacDonald, but Donald. Let's just go with Donald. Hugh is the nephew of Donald. Hugh thought he would become the next, I don't know, chiefdom, whatever. He wants to be the next guy in charge. So he was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to assassinate Donald at a feast. So he's like, I'm going to invite a bunch of people to the feast. I'm going to assassinate Donald. So he sends a letter to Donald to invite him to the feast and a letter to the assassin to say, hey, I want you to assassinate Donald. But Hugh's not so bright. Instead of inviting Donald to the feast, he sends the feast letter invitation to the assassin and the assassin letter to Donald. So, Donald, I got a letter from Hugh. Opens it up. He wants to what do you mean he wants to assassinate me? Well, fuck you, man. That's some serious 70s sitcom mix-up bullshit. So Donald goes, yeah, fuck that. He goes to Hugh and he's like, yeah, so you're trying to assassinate me, huh? I'm not here to RSVP, bitch. I'm here because you sent me the assassin letter, not the invite. And he throws Hugh in the dungeon. Hugh was chained and fed solely on salt beef with no water. So eventually he gets mad, he goes mad, and then he dies. Legends say that he even tried to eat his own hands before he died. Now, I'm not sure how his hands are any better than salted beef, but sure, why not? So, he's chewing on his hands, boom, he dies. He now wanders the castle, Kurt here, I can only assume, looking for either water or his ghost hands, who the fuck knows. But Hugh's seen here all the flippin' time wandering the castle. The next ghost? That's right, Donald. Good old Donald himself. Yep, people say he wanders the castle ruins. They said they've seen him brawling with other ghosts, so he's just a dick well, he wasn't really a dick in real life. He was fine in real life, but in the afterlife, yeah, he's just fighting ghosts, just punching ghosts in their ghost faces. Then, ghost number 3 is Donald's wife, Margaret MacLeod. Now, she's seen here howling in anguish in the castle ruins. Her backstory is messed up. Her family and Donald's family were feuding. Big time, like fighting. And so they were like, we got to put an end to all the war. People are dying. The families are dying. No one's winning. We'll put an end to the war. Here's how we're going to do it. I am going to do this thing. Here, her dad is like, I'm going to do this thing. It's called hand fasting. She's going to be hand fasted to Donald. Hand fasting basically means you have 1 year to please the husband. If so, you get married. Boom, war stops. If not, he dumps her. Well, it said she couldn't bear him a son in that year, so he's like, nope, I'm dumping her. War's back on, bitches. And somehow she loses an eye in that year married to Donald. I'm guessing because he likes to punch other ghosts. He probably used to punch her as well. Seems like he is a dick. I'm going back on that. Yep, Donald's a dick. So she loses an eye while she's handfasted. So he dumps her. He sends her back to her dad, according to legend. Back to her dad. He sends her back to her dad. She was forced to sit backwards on a one-eyed horse led by a one-eyed servant with a one-eyed mongrel dog to show her father, like, you know, basically this one-eyed chick is unworthy of Donald. Screw Margaret is basically what he's saying. Yep, shitty end to her. She dies somewhere later on. Now her ghost is seen one-eyed and all in the castle, but legend says her one-eyed ghost is only seen or heard by people visiting the castle ruins by those about to have an accident of their own. So you do not want to see her. If you do, pretend you don't, because you're going to, you know, have an accident. Next ghost here. The housemaid. Worst housemaid ever. The housemaid ghost, who, when she was alive, accidentally dropped a child out of a window. Whoops. Look, you don't just accidentally drop a child out of a castle window. I've held many babies, and never once have I accidentally hung them out of and then dropped them out of a window. Again, worst housemaid ever. She said she liked to show the baby every day the lands that it would own one day. Okay, so you bring them up towards the window and look out the window. You don't hold them out a castle window and then just drop them. That seems like shitty housemaiding. Anyhow, she's seen wandering around the castle crying and wailing. Thankfully, I can't find any connection to Donald with her, so we'll call that a small win. But yeah, those are the ghosts that are seen here, but it's also all the basics are seen and heard here too. But let's keep on moving on. We're going to move on to the River Sligachan, where people see... Okay. Oh, wait. You know what? Are you ready? Here is your chance to guess what people see on the River Sligachan in Skye in Scotland. Your options are 1, a three-eyed fairy riding a one-eyed horse. 2, a basket full of ghost eyes and hands. Or 3, a ghost car. All right, text your answers now to 555-1212. All text rates apply. We're going to wait. We're going to wait. You're going to tally them up. Hold on. Let's get some tallying up music here. All right. I'm receiving texts like crazy right now. You're doing great. All right. A couple people voting for that one. Oh, a couple people voting for that one too. And the answer is... What is seen on the River Sligachan? 1, a three-eyed fairy riding a one-eyed horse. 2, a basket full of ghost eyes or hands. Or 3, a ghost car. The answer is... Where's the right answer? Oh, here. The answer is a ghost car. That's right. Show me ghost car. All right, I get back to normal music. That's right. For this one, we go way back to 1941 when Dr. Alan McDonald, who was the first person to ever see the ghost car, reported seeing a ghost car over the River Sligachan. He was driving over the river when in 1934 Austin sped up behind him, overtaking him. So it's a one-lane road, so he like pulls off the road to let this speeding bastard go by, when as soon as the car passes him, it disappeared. Since then, a shit ton of people have reported seeing the same 1934 Austin ghost car overtaking them, then disappearing over on the bridge over the River Sligachan. Then you got to add some stupid local lore to it. The local lore is the ghostly driver of the car was a local church minister who was involved in a fatal accident in his car. No names, no nothing. Couldn't find anything about any local church minister dying on the River Sligachan or over near it. Sure, why not? All right, so from there, let's go to Hartakori. It is the place of the bloodiest battle on Skye, and people today report seeing the ghostly battle by what is known as the Bloody Stone. Quick history. The Bloody Stone. We go back to 1395, where a fierce battle between the MacLeods and MacDonalds took place in the Corrie. It lasted the entire day until not one MacLeod was left standing. The bodies were piled up around the base of a huge rock topped by a rowan tree. This stone is called the Bloody Stone. All right, I got to keep moving on to the next haunted location on Skye. It's called the Quillians. The Quilli. It's Cuilliins. The Quillians. Sure. They are the mountains in the center of Skye. You know what? The next haunted location is the mountains in the center of Skye that have a weird name. And they have a ghost named McRang, who in life was said to have robbed and murdered a girl at the old well called Tobar Achin. When his son caught him, McRang killed his son and put his severed head in the well. Now he's seen, McRang, not the kid's head, is now seen wandering the mountains. No idea what he's looking for, but probably a lot of body parts that are scattered all over Skye. Next, we go to the Pass of Odal, where a ghost has been seen forever, but he seems to be a shapeshifter ghost because sometimes he's in the form of a man. Other times, he appears as a greyhound. Other times, it's some other random animal. Kurt here, couldn't it be a bunch of different ghosts? I don't know, but they all think it's the same ghost. Either way, what I'm trying to say is, if you're going on the Pass of Odal, if you go to Skye, and they go, hey, let's go over the Pass of Odal, and it's nighttime, you go, no thank you, because that's when this thing attacks. Sometimes it just shrieks at people, but other times people get thrown down and hurt by the shapeshifter ghost. Or it could be worse, because grain of salt sometimes, according to one time, grain of salt times, what I'm trying to say. One day, a man's body was found by the roadside on the Pass of Odal. He was pierced with 2 wounds, one on his side and one on his leg. The wounds were considered to be inflicted by something, quote, other than human. By whom? Who said, oh, no human could have done that. It must have been something other than human. And look, if this is a professional, you really need to narrow it down to more than, is this a dog bite or a snake bite or a one-eyed horse bite? All I know is it's something other than human. No, it's a stupid way of describing an attack on a person's body. Was this person dead? Don't know. Doesn't say. Every story is the exact same grain of salt bullshit story. One day, a man's body was found on the roadside of Pass of Odal, pierced with 2 wounds, one on his side, one on his leg. That's it. Something other than human. Every story. I'm going to call that one a total legend bullshit, but who knows? Maybe there's a lot of weird shit on Skye is what I'm trying to say, but don't go on the Pass of Odal at night. It seems like a real easy thing to do. You stay on the, you stay on the trail if you're in the American Werewolf in London thing. If you're on the moors, you stay on the trail. You don't go off into the moors. That's a real easy thing. All you had to do was stay on the moor. That was a real easy thing to do. This one, don't go to the Pass of Odal at night. Boom, real easy thing to do. All right, let's say with that is part 1 of Haunted Islands done for you. But there are many, 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 many more. I just need to decide if part 2 is going to be a patron exclusive or for everyone. I haven't decided yet. Feel free to tell me what you think. I'm not going to say I'm going to go with it, but I've not decided which way it's going to go yet. All right. Once again, I'm your host, Kurt Samkin. This has been another edition of Paranormal Almanac. I got to go find a place to live so I'm not homeless. So have a good one. Stay off the Pass of Odal at night. I don't know. Don't do the Goonies quest. Try and find that magic bowl. If you do, look in it and see where I'm going to live. I kneel for veil and I one my Lord, goes down below, goes down.